Welcome back, everyone. This is, I don't think I have a name for this sort of thing we do here, but this is, we're just reviewing our exit poll and just going to kind of go over the information we got here and what we're likely to do with it. Oh, I just realized I missed some things, but I'm done with my prep. We're moving on past that. There's also kind of a little state of the ABL, but we're just going to start with going through this. So, got 12 responses out of the exit poll. Pretty good turnout. So how long of a layoff do we want here? I don't love how this ordered this. Sort column. Yeah. So the people who said no time, let's draft. This is a mistake on me. I should not have given you that option because we're definitely going to wait the 10 days from the time of recording to Champions coming out and just kind of seeing what's what. I think a couple of things are going to come out of that. One, maybe we really like the format. We're going to be seeing all of the new megas, their abilities, presumably, or at least most of them, I think. And then some other potential balance patch changes. There's a lot of speculation that some other Pokemon are going to have movesets or abilities changed, and I think we just want to at least take a look at that. So, sorry to the people who said no time, let's draft. We will be ignoring that. But honestly, probably counting it as this 2 to 4 week group here. So basically 5 responses of 2 to 4 weeks, 4 responses of 5 to 8 weeks, and then a couple people in 3 to 4 months. Nobody said don't contact me. Nobody said they were taking time off. So that's cool. But I think that's all we've got to go off of there. I think because the fact that we're already waiting like 2 weeks from the time I put this out, I think we're probably going to look at 4 to 5 weeks, which is shorter than I had initially thought. But I think most of the league is let's see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of 75% of the people who took the poll would be good with rolling into it within 1 to 2 months. So right now, I'm going to look at maybe 5 to 6 weeks is where we'll go, but also might get delayed a little bit if there will be ongoing discussion about what format it's going to be. Because I do think that is still something we're going to have to decide once Champions comes out. Probably should have waited to put this whole thing out in general. Okay, how do we rate the new waiver system? Mostly 5s. We got a good amount of 5s here. Couple of 4s, and then we'll look at the feedback on the ones on the 1, 2, and 3. So, limit to making changes. I much prefer the 5 transaction system. It allows you to slow roll the changes you can make over the course of the draft. Maybe even have the week 0, 1 to 2 transactions be free to help people fix these teams. All too often, you can get sniped and have your team change it on the fly, putting a Pokemon you already drafted not as viable on the team. I have some strong opinions about this, but I'm going to focus on the things I do want to look at. So, in terms of the slow rolling the changes, that is some other stuff that we got here. Only complaint is it's difficult to make meaningful changes to your team comp. I feel like we need a mechanism for the Seattle Shuffle. And then here we have made large-scale transactions feel very, very difficult because you need multiple weeks to trade more than 2 Mons. So, I hear that. I think that makes a lot of sense because if you want to make large-scale changes, if you want to swap out 4 Pokemon on your team, you don't have the ability to do that except over multiple weeks, and you basically have to you're in the middle of a change. You basically have to I can't use these 2 Pokemon. They're in the shop because you're in the middle of making changes. I agree with that. I am open to hearing suggestions as to how we can address that. My guess would basically be like a take your transactions in advance sort of thing where it'll lock you out of, if you do it, you're probably locked out of making changes for let's say 2 weeks. Maybe you can make 5 transactions, but you can't make transactions for 2 more weeks. but then we also have to figure out what to do if it's late in the season. You're at the transaction deadline if you're allowed to do that. So I'm open to hearing changes to that. I don't know. I don't think that, like, this one suggestion here of maybe it wasn't in here. Somebody had suggested, right here, increase to 3 months per transaction, but limit them to 10 total on the season. I had originally thought 3 would be okay. I'm also open to that, but then I still don't think it needs to be capped. Maybe that could be a solution. I'd like to talk more about this because the 3 of the pieces of feedback we got were pretty much all the same of I'd like to make bigger changes and this format doesn't allow me to. I'm open to allowing that. This one here, let's see if we can, if you can see the whole thing up here. I know it's small, but I'm also not going to zoom because it'll fuck everything up. The week 0, having 1 to 2 transactions be free to help people fix their teams because you can get sniped. I don't buy this. And my reasoning is, let's say, and maybe I'm misreading this situation. So the person who wrote this, I know who it is because this is feedback I've gotten from them multiple times. You can reach out to me and tell me if I am misrepresenting the situation. Because my understanding is this would be like the 5th round or something. You would get sniped and Pokemon you've already drafted are not as viable on your team. So 5th round, you get sniped. This means Pokemon you've already drafted, now you don't need them. Now they're just like, oh, this throws everything off. I can't use these Pokemon I've already selected, so I need to change these Pokemon I've already selected. I call BS on that because you did a bad job prioritizing your team then. I don't think... I don't see that, from my own personal experience, I don't see it as a Pokemon I've taken gets sniped and now that makes my previous Pokemon unviable. I probably would have, that Pokemon sounds too important to have delayed. So I am less receptive to that. If anybody else wants to chime in on this and tell me their opinions, maybe this is the only one person was brave enough to say it. Maybe that's what it is. Please give me your feedback. I'd like to hear. We'll probably do some version of what we did last season, but with some tweaks, either going up to 3 months per transaction, or I would be open to having some sort of a Seattle shuffle mechanic in play. If anyone can give me pitches on that, because I'm just not sure how to do it. Another pretty big one here, we're going to talk about tier changes. We're going to go over to this sheet over here. I tried to make this reflect some of the tier changes so we could see. So Chi-Yu was, I think, mentioned by a couple people to move down. Necrozma was mentioned to move down. I could see both of those. I was not blown away by Chi-Yu, even though I did advocate that we move it up. Maybe it was user error from the people who had it, but I feel like most teams were able to deal with Chi-Yu pretty well. So I think it's just a speed tier thing because she used 100 base speed or something like that, and I feel like it ran Scarf a lot. It was forced to run Scarf because of the speed tiers, so it was pretty easy to deal with. Necrozma, I do agree, it is kind of high, especially because I think this has its whole bevy of moves that it used to have. I don't know, Necrozma I do think is pretty good, but it is kind of difficult to use. It's a low floor mon, but maybe 15's probably fine. Or high floor mon, excuse me. Tapu Lele moving up. I know we moved it up, but we could keep moving it up, and I'd still think that mon is quite good. So I hear that. Before we get into the slow boys, let's talk about a couple of other ones. We got Diggersby and Tentacruel, both requested to move down. Diggersby I can see, although... because I don't know. I don't think Diggersby is a lot better than something like Conkeldurr or Arcanine, or there's not a lot of other physical attackers in this tier. Reverum, but they do different things. I don't know if Diggersby is so much better than them. We'll also have to kind of consider if we go to a format that still has return available. Uh, so I can kind of see Diggersby maybe moving down. Tentacruel, I think, has such a unique role. I am less in favor of that, but I'm open to hearing other people suggest things. I think that's everything. Oh, hold on. So there was a couple things I didn't look at. Greninja down to 16, Arch up to... Oh boy. Greninja down to 16, Archaludon to 13. Where is it now? It's probably somewhere around... Where is Archaludon? Archaludon 12 up to 13. Oh man, it's tough when like you didn't see a lot from the Pokemon. I don't feel like Archaludon did a ton. Kleavor up to 6 or 7. I could see that. People seem to really like Kleavor. It seems to be pretty effective. Araquanid up to 7. I don't know about that personally. I feel like where is Araquanid? Let me make sure I'm not totally off base. Presume Araquanid up 1. I don't know. I think Araquanid's okay here, but these are about having some conversations get made here. Golisopod up to 4 or 5. I could see that Golisopod had some nice stuff going for it this season. Mega Slowbro up to 15 or 16. We need to talk about the Mega Slowbro, this Mega Slow boys. So let's go to this sheet I have here. So somebody you might have noticed in this last one put any Regenerator Mon should go up 1 to 3 points. So that is more complicated than it would seem. Let's see. Maybe I can zoom this and this will look a little bit nicer. Okay. It's not great, but at least you probably don't have to squint at it if you're looking at your screen. So this is a list of all the Regenerator Mons that we have. This is basically what would be suggested. Slowking and Tornadus up to 19. This feels a little bit like a Zactax on the Torn-T in particular. I don't know if I would personally feel Tornadus T is classified up with things like Great Tusk, Iron Valiant, and Mega Gallade. Same thing with Galarian Slowking. I think Galarian Slowking's okay where it is personally. Slowbro up to 17, putting Slowbro on the same. And granted, this is just I'd added 2. They said 1 to 3, so I just had to do a quick thing. This, if you had to move it, if you had to tax them, you would do this, right? Same thing with Slowbro. I don't think you'd go up 2. You'd probably go 16 on Slowbro. Slowking, again, we'll dive more into the Slowbro, the slow line stuff later. Mienshao, I don't see a big need to move. Alamalola, you could make an argument for. I think if you wanted to say 11, I would be open to that. Toxapex, sure, I could see. Hydrapple, that's definitely a Zactax. Tangrowth, I feel like Tangrowth's done its time. I think it's okay at 9. I think we've seen, especially with no hidden power, I do think that makes a difference. Same thing with the Moongus. Cyclozar, I think we've seen enough of. I don't think you need to move it. Reuniclus is probably one of the less likely ones to actually use Regenerator because it has one of the few better abilities in the game. I have a whole rant on Regenerator I could go through, but I'll save you guys from that. Galarian Slowbro is really funny because he's so left out because nobody gives a shit about Galarian Slowbro. Tangela, Audino, these Pokemon you're not even thinking about, so I don't see a need to tax them additionally. Those are my thoughts on it, but I wanted to have all that stuff voiced so that way you guys, other people could think about it. Now let's talk about the slow boys. Let me pull up Discord here because Brett in his sheet suggested hey, I suggested a fix for the Slowbros. Here's what I think we should do. He just kind of cited this post here. Galarian Slowking 16. Or he agreed pre-Nat Dex price was 15 on Slowking. So this is the split that he suggested. I am happy with the placement on regular Galarian Slowking currently, personally. So I would, if I was, he's basically, but he is suggesting it would move down in this. I don't know that needs to happen. So it was currently at 15. We'd have to look at moving Slowbro up to Mega Slowbro up to 15 to match it because of the Mega rules that we kind of, not rules, but philosophies that we want to put into place that it's hey, if you're the the non-mega Pokemon and the mega Pokemon, the mega Pokemon should never be lower than the non-mega Pokemon. So we also have to look at Audino for that. That's why there's an asterisk on the regenerator page. And then regular Slowking is currently 11. That would be bumped up to 14 if it's one because right now Brett's suggestion is actually move Slowbro down one, Slowking up to 15, and then move Galarian Slowking down to 15, and then ignore Galarian Slowbro, which I think is very funny. This is something we'll revisit when we tier, because just to give people an idea, because these are big moves, just want to make sure everyone's on the same page with that. I think that's all of the tiering things we need to talk about, because I just want to make sure, because somebody said move Gren down a tier. Where'd Gren go? Greninja. I don't know. I don't feel great about it, but that's just me. Back to the forums. Bring back Baton Pass, but no passing stats. If you do pass stats, you forfeit the game. So, a couple people mentioned Baton Pass, and I think that's an okay idea. I just need to make sure everyone knows that if you pass stat boosts, you forfeit the game. There's no way to enforce that on Showdown. You'll just have to know. That's the thing I don't like about it, that it's like an auto lose button that somebody could make a mistake. There's nothing stopping you from doing it. Maybe there is some stuff in the formats that we play in particular. We'd have to take a look at that. But dry pass is what this is typically called, no passing stats. Just to give a history of why we ended up where we did. One, it's a complex ban, where it's just like you can use this move but not in combination with this stuff. I don't love that. I'd like to try to move away from stuff like that, but I also do get that baton. If people hold to this, it is innocuous enough to baton pass. Somebody else said you baton pass the wish. You don't have to baton pass the wish. You can just hard switch. I know it makes it easier, but I also, whatever. I guess that I don't think that's a good use of a move slot personally. So what we started with, the original rule was you can only have Baton Pass on one Pokemon. This prevents people from chaining together stat boosts. Like you couldn't, I think the classic thing would be to like maybe ingrain on something and pass that ingrain to something. And then the Pokemon you pass to would be able to get like some Calm Mind boosts and then pass to something that would Iron Defense. And then you could also, if you got enough speed boosts, you could Baton Pass into a Soundproof or you pass into something that's immune to phasing, like a Magic Bounce user. That was the idea behind Baton Pass chaining. That's why it was limited to one Pokemon could have Baton Pass on your team. And then just due to, I don't remember who used it super well. I think it was like either Zane or Drew or somebody, one of the newer guys. I don't remember. Like last season, they used it really well, so we ended up just banning Baton Pass entirely. If you want to bring back Dry Pass, we got to look at that, but everyone's got to be on the same page. I would prefer to stop playing Zach in playoffs. You could do what I do and retire. That's the easiest way to not play him. Change tiebreaker order from Opal second, or Peru first, Opal second, to the other way around. Rewards close losses and effort rather than blowout wins. I think I'm open to this. The reason that we have things the way that we do is that I think that we wanted to, reward dominant wins back when they were less common. And also, Opal and Peru are also born out of me just wanting to be different than just using differential. I'm open to just going to differential. I do like having primary tiebreaker and secondary tiebreaker, but we would just make primary tiebreaker differential and then have Opal or Peru be secondary and tertiary if we wanted to look at that. I'd love to hear more thoughts. And then the other one, I left this till last because this is the most controversial. This one was brought up to me. I've been feeling this the same way, but I'm really torn about what to do with it, and I want to see if anybody else in the league, besides me and the person who submitted this, who I'm not going to out them if they don't want to be, feel this way. Limiting Toxic. I don't think Toxic is fun, but I don't think it's so good that we have to ban it. But one of the things I loved about not doing Nat decks is that not everything and its sister got Toxic. I feel like one of the reasons that people say Hidden Power shouldn't be in is just because, it gives up every Pokemon coverage to hit their counters. And I would say Toxic does that too. You put that Pokemon on a timer, you've crippled it, and now you can whittle it down. I think there's more counterplay to Toxic, although I don't think Hidden Power is so good either. But Hidden Power is basically not allowed in this format because I don't have a good reason why it's not allowed in this format. I think that's just because the tier list we stole didn't allow it, so we continued to not allow it. And then Toxic, I feel like, is a similar boat, except people were okay with it. So the person I spoke to, me and them had the same idea. Basically, if we were to implement something like this, it would be you are limited to the two of the 6 Pokemon you bring can have Toxic, no more. You guys, we need to talk about this. That's a big change. Again, it might be nothing because we need to wait until Pokemon Champions comes out. I am definitely rushing this out. I should have just waited. So that's where we are. I've given a lot for everyone to talk about. I'd really love to see this discussion opened up, and so we can try to find out where we stand before we inevitably blow up the whole tier list and just tier Pokemon Champions Pokemon. Thank you all for listening. I'm sure we'll be hearing again. You'll be hearing again from me soon once Pokemon Champions comes out and we have new rule changes. So thank you all. Goodbye.